Welcome to Weeks Ahead AI, where business owners learn how to use AI to save time, cut costs, and stay weeks ahead.
Today on Weeks Ahead AI, we're talking to a guy who's years ahead. Matt Rosen has helped over 50 businesses implement some serious AI into their businesses. We're excited to have you today, Matt.
Yeah, excited to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
Welcome.
So Matt's a friend and mentor of mine. He built Allata starting in 2016. Nearly a decade later, the firm operates across 4 continents with offices in Dallas, Boise, Houston, Provo, Phoenix, Buenos Aires, 2 offices in India, and 1 in Cordoba as well. The firm is scaled to 350 plus employees, carries a Great Place to Work certification. The client roster is kind of a who's who. It includes Associa, one of the largest community management companies in North America, the State Fair of Texas, and Belden. Before founding Allata, Matt spent 28 years as an enterprise technology operator. He was the VP at Paraveda Solutions, where he took the company from $10 million to $100 million, which I think only took him a few years. He has sold CRM and infrastructure solutions to companies ranging from $25 million all the way up to $2 billion in revenue. He's not a producer, founder, or theorist. He's a builder who has been inside hundreds of organizations diagnosing technology problems. He's recently taken Allata to the top 50 on the Inc. 500 for 2 years in a row, which is, I think, one of a 350 million chance of someone being able to accomplish that. So super thrilled and excited to have him here on the show today.
He's sitting right here with us.
Probably
here
the
with
most
us.
qualified guest we've ever had on the show.
I'm glad to come talk AI with you guys.
And he's a podcast expert himself, right? You got your own podcast.
I do.
as
It's
well.
called The Grit Mindset with Matt Rosen, and Mitch has been on. I think you guys will be on here pretty soon as well. So
it's a great podcast.
thank you.
People check it out. We're glad to have you today. We're excited to talk more AI. I know that's kind of all you talk these days, right?
Well, it's all good. Yeah. I mean, AI has become part of everything we do. So a little background, Allata started as a digital product engineering firm where everyone going through this digital transformation, which really meant they're taking their old apps and putting them in the cloud or getting them with mobile. And, that was a big trend over the last decade. And in obviously 2022, we saw the launch of ChatGPT, where it's actually become the word we use to talk about AI, almost like Kleenex being tissues. They were the first to market. And around that time, we realized that our business was really going to change. Now, we had been doing some work in the data and data analytics space because you got to have good data, have a good working application. But we really dove headfirst into AI, and we're very early as a consulting firm to do it, knowing that it was going to transform our industry. Mm-hmm. We just thought it was going to happen a little faster than it did, but it's actively happening now. But we had all 350 people. We're actually approaching 400 people now because we've been growing, trained on AI, very early days, building their own projects, experimenting with the tools that were out there, really trying to figure out how could we adopt it as Allata, and then how were our clients going to adopt it and make sure we were kind of on the bleeding edge of where the tech was going.
Mm-hmm.
Which
really hard to do.
It is really hard to do because nobody's got a crystal ball, and some of the early engines weren't that good. They hallucinated, and they didn't always return the right information, or they'd make up information. And we ended up starting to build our own tooling early days because at the time there was ChatGPT. Anthropic wasn't even really out there yet. Google didn't have Gemini yet, or what they had wasn't very good. There was Copilot, but that didn't really work all that well. It was based on some older chat models, and so we went ahead and actually kind of built some of our own tooling to help ourselves. I can kind of talk about one of the stories we had there because I think one of the big questions is what's the ROI on AI? And
right.
I'm not a big fan of using tech to take away jobs. What I'm a big fan of is having human in the loop, where tech enables humans and it becomes a partner to them. So for us, one of the big challenges we had is we have a mantra at Allata, which is family first, clients are king. We take great care of our people. So part of that taking great care of our people is we review every one of our people. It used to be twice a year, now it's once a year, but there's some opportunity for advancements. But it is based on a very complicated Excel framework that is our expectations of a consultant as they grow in our organization. And then every person is assigned a mentor, and that mentor does a review narrative based on that growth framework. And they go gather feedback from their peers and they, project managers and clients even. And it would take people 8 to 10 hours to write a review on average. And you multiply that times 350 plus presenting the review. time is money in the consulting business. And so we were able to basically strip about $500,000 annually out of that process by using AI to understand that Excel worksheet, to gather that 360-degree feedback, to produce that review narrative, but then that mentor still has to review the review narrative, make sure it's correct, update it where necessary, and then physically deliver to it. We don't have the robots just delivering reviews to people,
Right.
recommending them for promotion. But that was a huge time savings and cost savings for me, and that allowed people to spend more time on billable work or other things than sitting down and writing reviews, which is a very time-consuming part of any consulting firm or anyone who's got HR and doing reviews.
Right. And a lot of companies, a lot of small businesses really don't do that because it does take so much time and effort. And it's like, I've got a million fires to put out. I can't do that. But it is so critical. So to be able to kind of use some AI to help you in that process.
Well, that's now a 30-minute.
30 minutes to an hour, and it's writing better reviews than people were anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
But you've used AI to improve culture.
We have.
You didn't look at it to, I'm going to save $1 here. It just said, I'm going to make the place better to work.
Yeah, nobody got replaced as a result of this. People are getting better reviews, more timely reviews, more accurate reviews that tie better to the growth framework because AI is great at that. And so that was the first area we used it. Then we started using it to enable our sellers to be more effective. We hired a few new sellers, and one of the biggest questions they would always ask is, where have we done this before? Well, we've got like over 150 clients now, and we try and generate a case study slide at the end of each one, and each one has its own client documentation. Well, for a seller to know where to look, like, hey, where have we helped a manufacturing firm implement a data strategy? Well, that was a very time-consuming process, so it ended up just being an email where they're asking everyone, and half the time I would answer the emails because I've been involved in almost every project at some point or another, telling them where to find it. Well, now they're just asking AI, and the AI finds the slide in the SharePoint library and helps them write a narrative or shares the examples, so our sellers can come up to speed way more quickly, understanding all the stories, because as a consulting firm, we're just a collection of our people and our client stories.
Yeah, document retrieval, information retrieval. We just had a industrial flooring contractor on here, and same thing. Sales guys are like, where have we done an airplane hangar in Tarrant County?
Yeah.
That's very relevant. I just want to know right now.
And you spend hours. I mean, we would do that in our real estate marketing materials. Like, I know we've done an industrial,
It's
like, and you
common.
you're searching through all your old files.
There's so much institutional knowledge that's in our heads.
Yeah.
And, some companies like ours, I mean, we at least put in a SharePoint infrastructure and Office 365, but I mean, things get scattered and those things sprawl over time. And, trying to find things, and the search in SharePoint doesn't work all that well, but AI is really good at crawling those libraries and very quickly finding the information you're looking for. In fact, I think I used it just the other day to find our logo because I was sponsoring an event in our neighborhood.
Should be easy enough to find your logo,
but I couldn't.
Yeah.
It might just be I don't know where to look or didn't save the right links. For a technologist, I'm probably the least technical guy in the company.
Does part of the reason it worked better because it's reading the metadata behind the files and not just poor nomenclature that people are using to save it?
That's a big part of it. In fact, what's really interesting is when we first set AI loose on our environment, we realized that we didn't do a good job of the metadata. So we'd say, hey, where do we have a master services agreement that's, has longer than 90-day payment terms, for example? And it would pull back drafts. And so we actually had to do, this is what people don't understand, sometimes we do have to do a little bit of data cleanup. Now, AI will help you identify that data cleanup, because I hear a lot of executives be like, well, we got to get our data perfect before we do AI. And I'm like, that's BS. You can do both. You can use AI to help you understand where you have data deficiencies, because so we had to go clean up our metadata to have like final in the metadata, so that it knew when we go read the MSA library or master service agreement library, that's our contract, how we do business with our customers, it knew it was looking at the final file.
Right.
But AI pointed out the deficiency that we had, because we'd have like 10 drafts where we'd go on red lines back and forth, and AI didn't know any better, so we had to give it some indication of what it was looking for.
Wow.
So I mean, that's interesting, because we're already kind of running into that a little bit with our own companies and others that we're working with, where the data is scattered, and it's like, well, you got to get it organized, got to get in one place before we even start. Not before we start, as we start, right? And along the side.
We have a lot of clients where we're doing things in tandem, where they're implementing a data platform like an Azure Foundry or a Snowflake, are the kind of the big two we implement. And Snowflake I view as one of the strongest ones in the space, where it's just easy to implement it and it's easy to maintain it. Databricks is another one that we work on from time to time, but that'll often be for the structured data. But then you have all this world of unstructured data, which could be in Box, it could be in people's desktops, it could be in Office 365, it could be in Google Drive, and
or their head.
Their head. Yeah. And that becomes a mess. And then you've got systems, and some systems integrate better with AI than others. I mean, Salesforce done a great job with their Agentforce. You can call that platform and get data back. but a lot of them, like we use HubSpot, it's not great. So we've had to build some of our own tools to extract data from our CRM. So I tell executives all the time, it's like, don't wait for your data to be perfect. You implement AI, you get what you can out of certain use cases. I think you guys were asking me for examples earlier. There's a big recycling company we were working with where they had a bunch of contracts in DocuSign. And in their contracts, they have price increases they can implement based on CPI increases. And so they were trying to use that engine to mine that. It just frankly wasn't working. So we implemented some of the technology we built in their environment that's helping them actually scan that document library, identify those price increases, create an opportunity for their sellers in Salesforce to go out and actually make sure they're capturing that revenue. And it's gonna generate millions of dollars of business that they just leave it on the table because they never thought to go back and look at the contract and implement the price increases the clients agreed to.
They've already agreed to it.
Just a contract review agent that went and found millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Wow.
So where have you seen the companies that have had success implementing AI? Where's that coming from?
You know, they just got to pick an area. I mean, I think sales enablement's huge. I think contract review is huge. I think some of the supply chain optimization's been really big. I think, you know, anything around procurement where there's lots of documents. It kind of depends on the company. And what's really interesting is we've got clients. Our focus has generally been the mid-market, and I define that as about $250 million to about $5 billion companies. Our average client's probably about $1 billion in revenue. But I have found that those companies are kind of underserved by a lot of consulting firms. That's why we built the firm. And even companies of that size are still getting started with AI, still trying to identify the use cases of where it'd be relevant. But what I've found is that AI and some of the technology we built has got us outside of that. I mean, we're about to work with one of the local counties to implement AI technology. We're working with a higher ed. We're working with some different government entities. And what's interesting is it's like, who's the first mover in the space?
Right.
There's a lot of companies that go after like a vertical slice, like, hey, we're just going to be the healthcare AI experts. We're just going to be great at financial services. We've always been a little bit more of a generalist firm. And what we're finding is we're trying to identify who's moving fast where we can come alongside them and help aid their progress with AI.
And within an organization, who's the champion with the ones you've been seen be successful? I think you mentioned earlier.
It's a great question. You know, our traditional buyer in digital consulting and data has been the CIO or one of their direct reports. And what I'm finding is the most successful implementations, it is a CEO, chief revenue officer, chief marketing officer. So a lot of companies are hiring like a chief data and AI officer.
Right.
But that person is now oftentimes, if not reporting to the IT leader, and many times reporting directly to the CEO.
Yep.
And so, but the CEO still has to have the vision. And like, so when Allata decided we're going to be AI first, I was like, hey, we're going to do this and I'm going to go first as well. So I went through all the training. I started working with the models. I started using it every day. And then literally over the last year, when this whole concept of vibe coding came around, I decided I was going to start vibe coding apps. I haven't written code since Pascal. I'm a more of a business development and business builder, but I have literally developed 5 different applications, including a podcast for my website, a family meal planning app. I'm developing an app to manage just like what wines I own in my wine shipments. I like to drink wine. And sometimes I lose the bottles, don't know where to put them. So trying to track when I should be drinking them, as well as hopefully I'm going to link it to that recipe app to be like, hey, what meal would go well with this wine? I haven't quite gotten there yet. But I'm like, hey, if we're going to be out there, selling, people on using AI to code, I need to know how powerful these engines are. So I'm going to go build some apps for myself. Well, that sets a tone with my folks that, hey, the CEO is serious about this. We're going to be serious about it. And I think for companies to be successful, the CEO of the company and the top leadership needs to be engaged using these tools, learning how to use them. Because until you start using them, you don't understand how powerful they are. And to just put your head in the sand and be like, oh, I don't want to do it because our data's not ready or these things hallucinate, that's a cop-out. And those that don't start jumping on board are going to get left so far behind. But those that are, it's going to be bad for those that aren't starting to take steps today to understand what it can do for their organization.
Because they're just going to look up and it's going to be too late.
It's going to be too late. Like it will move too fast. It is moving so fast. I mean, there's models coming out. Like I think last month we had Gemini 3.1. We had the 4.6 version of models from Claude. I think 5's right around the corner. We had 5.4 from OpenAI. There's others. Those are the main 3, but there's lots of others out there, and they're just moving so fast, and everyone's converging on everyone else. So by the time, if someone's done nothing, by the time they look up, they're not even going to know where to start.
I think Anthropic released 14 different
They were
updates or
releasing an
models
update
last
every
month.
1.8 days
Yes.
in the last
Yeah.
2
And
months.
you saw the SaaS apocalypse because everyone was afraid everyone's going to go Claude code everything. And, it's really easy to go create a prototype. Getting, a piece of software into an enterprise environment, getting it with the data, the right data for privacy, security, all those things. There's more that goes into building software than just writing the code. But I tell you what, these models have gotten awesome at writing the code, and all of our engineers have to use Claude Code or GitHub Copilot. Like, if you're not using AI to help you do your job at Allata, you're not going to be around.
Which
There you
Claude
go.
Code is an easy way to go into your files and have it add the metadata
Yep.
that you want to the files that you want it to make sure it's calling and reading.
Absolutely.
Because you can just open up a folder and do it. When you talk to a company about what's the ROI on AI, if someone says, okay, I'm going to put $100,000 into AI in my business, what should that turn into for them?
I would think 10 to 20x. I mean, it's hard to measure. And I think people are still trying to get their heads wrapped around just all the different problems it can solve. But I think a 10 to 20x investment is relatively reasonable.
Over what period of time?
I think it could be as quick as 12 to 24 months.
That's incredible.
I mean, I look at how much we spent to. I mean, we probably had 2 guys working on that, the review generator for about 6 months. But that was earlier models. Like today, we could have built that in a month. It took us 6 months, but it was because the models were changing and they weren't as good at reading Excel as they are today. And so we had to figure out how to take the Excel and put it into an agent. Today we wouldn't have to do that, but I think it was 2 pretty expensive guys. But I know we more than paid back their time tenfold by now.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's
Since that went into place.
So what do you say when people ask you about, I'm scared, what does the future look like? Is this going to be obsolete?
It's funny. People are like, "Oh, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to see if it gets better." I mean, AI is as bad as it's going to be right now. It's going to be better tomorrow.
Yep.
And I think we used to look at technology roadmaps and things like that on a 3 to 5 year horizon. I don't think you can do that with AI. As fast as things are changing and as quickly as things are converging on everything else, the two coding tools I really like out there that if you're not a developer or hardcore Lovable and Replit, they're starting to develop functionality that competes with the larger model providers. So you have everything converging on everything else. So it's like, I think it's about 6 to 12 months is as far as you can look, maybe 18. And I know you guys have developed some technology that helps abstract the models a little bit, where companies can kind of have an enterprise view of their data. Because the thing about these tools today, they're great at the individual level. Like if you have Claude Cowork or Code, it's running on your desktop, and a lot of these tools have been built with a consumer focus. And then you have the Microsofts and the Salesforce that have more of an enterprise focus, but it's the AI within their environment. And then I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of software as a service companies are out there using one of the models to solve a very niche problem. And some of the technology we've built, I know you guys have built, is like, hey, look, we don't know what's going to happen, so let's keep our data, and our processes within our own platform, and then let's call the models as we need to. So that's a strategy we're implementing for our clients that allows them to have that enterprise context around their data, because context is key, and your data is your differentiator. So having that within your walls and under your control, but then using whatever model is best for the job, is a strategy that we've employed that we feel like is a differentiator. Because there's mornings Claude's just down. So if you have your entire organization on Claude's, I forget if it's Team or Enterprise edition, and you can't access it, well, then you're kind of hosed. And I've literally gone into demos to show our technology where both Claude and ChatGPT were down. And we're like, all right, we'll just use Grok or Gemini. And so we've kind of taken control back in some sense, because if you're going all in with one model provider and their interface, you don't know if they're going to win.
I love that. Nobody knows who's going to win.
No, if we did, I'd had a crystal ball, I'd be a multi-billionaire.
But Susie in accounting might like ChatGPT.
She might.
Better, and Bob likes Claude, and so it's like, how do you kind of standardize that in an organization?
It's hard. In fact, I know some organizations where they've turned off access for those tools internally. Well, you know what people do? They get their personal desktop or their phone and they upload your corporate data outside your wall. So it's like, you have to give them an answer, because they're going to figure out a way to use it anyway. So I think, looking at enterprise class tools like the ones we've developed, and there's some other commercial ones out there, is really the way to go. Because it's like, this is not one you can put your head in the sand and ignore. This isn't blockchain. This isn't NFTs. Like, this is real. Like, so if you're thinking this isn't going to happen or hope it doesn't happen, wake up.
He had to take an NFT jab out.
Sorry that didn't work out, Mitch.
Sorry, I forgot about that.
And so you've built some really big software. You've done 50 AI implementations in the last 12 months. And, we're kind of serving the smaller business market. But if someone had 1,000 employees and they were doing, I don't know, $250 million in revenue, and at a 10% EBITDA, what could you do to that business in 6 months?
Oh, I mean, I think we could completely transform the way they're. I mean, it depends on the type of business, but I mean, we could enable their sales team to be way more effective. We've got a client that's got like 1 million products, and we've not only enabled their sales team and their technical support team, we've taken the AI technology we built, which basically understands their product catalog and how to put their products together to build like a data center solution. We've empowered customers with their e-commerce site to be able to go in and get the same intelligence. So it's absolutely huge what we're able to do for one of our clients. You think about, if someone with a lot of supply chain risk and things like that needs to better optimize it. I think that's huge. Could we take EBITDA up? We haven't gone down to measure it, but I'm just going to venture to say you could probably see a few upticks of EBITDA by fully embracing AI. And if you got 1,000 people, if you want to go license Copilot, you're talking $30 a month a user. If you want Claude or ChatGPT, that or a little bit higher, where like the tools that we've built, it's a one-time fee and then you're just paying token costs. So from a savings perspective, it's just, I think that doing it yourself, because I've had clients build something similar to the technology that we've built that you've built. But it's so much easier to get with someone that's already done some of this, pay, I would say, a nominal fee to get it implemented and get up and running that much faster.
Yeah. Yeah, and a $30 a fee seat lasts for so long. If the company really starts using AI, they've blown through that and people are begging for more on day 10 or 11, right?
Oh, absolutely. And so, and again, when you are paying a per user fee, that actually disincents people from deploying more. And there's some companies out there that are doing like a per agent fee, or hell, I've even seen some. I got one client where they have an AI that handles their phone calls. Well, they figure an agent handling a call costs $15. This thing will do it for $5. Well, you start getting all your calls handled by AI. That's still pretty darn expensive. Whereas if you can take matters into your own hand and build some of your own tools, then you're not beholden to these software providers and model providers, which, Anthropic and OpenAI are supposed to go public. We were talking about this earlier. Our token's going to cost more. Nobody knows. I mean, there are open source models you can use, but a lot of those you're going to want to host internally, and that comes with its own complexity if it's not keeping up. So it's been a race to the bottom right now, but there's this whole Javon's paradox with the more people use something, the more it gets used, the cheaper it gets. Will that happen with tokens? Hopefully. But could you see a day where one of the model providers decides to start ramping up the costs, and then all of a sudden everything's based on becomes more expensive? I mean, I don't think that happens, but nobody knows.
Right.
And that's why I think getting control into your own enterprise hands, not giving up your data, not giving up your trade secrets, not training a model with everything with, kind of open kimono. I think there should be a little bit of security you think about as part of this. And it goes back to, if you don't have some sort of enterprise standard tools, people are going to go use their own personal tools.
Yeah. Right. You're putting your entire company in jeopardy, right?
And we've seen it happen. I've had clients where literally people have taken like, PCI data or HIPAA data and literally put it into their own ChatGPT or Claude instance. I mean, it's happening everywhere. And anyone who says it's not happening, just they get blinders on it. Yeah.
Matt, I want to go back. I mean, you talked about, for us, the smaller businesses that we're working with, I mean, the founders typically, or the owners, I mean, they may have have the hat of CEO as well or whatever, but it's kind of that more that founder level. And so that's what we're trying to get these guys and gals to think about. That you've got to be the champion, right? But a lot of them don't know where to start, right? And they don't know what problems to identify. They don't know how to measure the ROI on that. You said, I think it's 10x. So, well, how do you help, or how would you recommend people start thinking about, where do I solve? What problem do I solve first? Or am I basing it on time that I'm saving, actual ROI, increasing EBITDA? What am I thinking?
An easy one for me is like, where are you spending time that seems super inefficient?
Yeah.
And what is draining? As a founder, one of the things I did was I went through, like, where am I spending time where it's taking away energy? I'm going to do away with all those things. Heck, just as things that have an agent to help you manage your calendar and your email. And heck, once a week I go into our tooling and I'm like, hey, is there any emails I missed this week? So instead of scanning a couple thousand emails I get, I have a bot that goes and it checks my email and reminds me of something I didn't reply to.
Yeah.
Well, that's huge. I mean, I don't know what that saves me a week.
Right.
An hour, 2 hours, but that's work that's not fun. Like, did I forget to respond to something? I even have an EA and she catches most everything. But every now and again, there's something that we just both miss. And most of these founders probably don't have an assistant that's helping them. So it can be your like virtual buddy assistant. And I think the other thing founders need to think about is this is not this is not like a calculator. This is a tool. This is an assistant. Like you can ask it things, and you can ask it, how can you help me? And so when you say, where do you get started? In fact, I had a buddy of mine text me the other day. He's like, hey, should I take this Harvard class? It's 2.5 weeks. It's $10,000. Will that help me? I'm like,
AI class?
yeah. I was like, just go into Claude and ask Claude, how can you help me be more efficient? Here's who I am. This is what I do. This is my business. Tell me where you can help. And it will give you a very good response. It might not be right, but if it's not right, be like, hey, try harder.
Yeah.
That's not creative enough. Do a little better. And you can do that with these engines. They will come up with a better response. I mean, they do want to make you happy. They do want you to use them. So they will try and be helpful. In fact, Anthropic's got this academy that's free. I think a couple of the others have their own. I mean, and they will tell you what these tools can do. So you don't need to go get a Harvard education or take a bunch of classes at a community college. Like these engines will tell you where they can help. In fact, we built a tool for our clients that maps out their business. It'll just go crawl their website and any documentation we provide, and it will come up a list of use cases. Then it will do a heat map saying which use cases we think are most efficient. Because as we were going out showing people what we built, they're like, "Hey, this is really cool. What problems can you solve?" It's like, "Well, what problems do you have?" It's like, "I don't know. What problems can AI help me with?" And it's like you come in this never-ending loop. So we built basically a management consultant that goes and scans their business, and it comes up with, "Hey, here's the top 10." Where that used to take analysts doing interviews in weeks. I mean, I don't know what McKinsey's going to be doing with their time, because that's what their people do. They go out, they do a lot of interviews, they ask a lot of questions. Well, an AI can do that now, and so
we need to build out that tool. That's a great one. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it can give you, and it might not be right, but at least it's directionally close. It gives you a starting point to think about what problems to go after first.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you also mentioned earlier, this is a lot of what we're thinking about, that every company is going to have kind of an AI specialist inside their organization. And the larger companies that you're working with probably already starting that, right?
Yeah, a lot of them have hired someone, and they might have a team now, and they're trying to figure it out. And for the larger ones, I mean, they are truly worried about data security. I mean, we've got one client down in Houston we're talking to, like, they operate in countries where, like, literally the data cannot leave the country borders. Yeah. So, like, they're going to have to think about, how can I build something in that country to know that my data is not leaving? Because, like, especially, Europe is taking a very hard stance on AI, and I can tell you, a lot of the European companies are falling way behind because of how strict they've made their policy. But for them, and they happen to build and operate a lot of commercial real estate overseas, and so they have to be able to enable those folks. And the only way they can do that is the tools that live on site in those countries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we're starting to kind of recruit some college students that need, they may be studying finance or construction management or marketing, and those are great skills to learn, but we want to help them layer in this AI skill, as well, and be that much more valuable to whatever company they go work in. Because of the small businesses, we're finding they're not hired. It's not that they can't afford, but they're not thinking about hiring somebody just that specializes in that. But if you can hire a kid that knows finance and AI, bring them on.
Yeah, I'd encourage any college kids that are listening to this, go start playing. I mean, it was interesting. I was having a conversation with one of my friend's daughters. She's a data engineering major. She's in her sophomore year at Texas A&M, which is my alma mater as well. And she called me to say, "Hey, what should I be learning? What should I be studying?" I was like, "Well, what are you learning in school?" She's like, "Well, we're learning C++. I'm like, "Yeah, you'll never use that ever." and Python. I'm like, "Yes, you will use that." And I was like, if you're not out there playing with these tools and using Claude code and building your own stuff, you're going to be falling behind. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she's like, "You're right." And she's like, "And the professors, it depends who it is, being a little, some people want you to use it, some people don't. A lot of colleges are moving to oral exams, but it's like, if you're in college and you're not playing with these tools and using them and learning what they can do, you need to be, because it's going to be an expectation. Anyone who comes on board in any organization going forward, at least the larger ones, that you have some familiarity with these tools, and you'll be that much more impactful if you join a smaller business or a blue collar business to come in with those skill sets to help the owner who might want to do it adopt those technologies.
Yeah, bring a 24-year-old in and help them do it.
Yeah, my daughter's 12 and she's using ChatGPT for everything.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
If you know any college students that want to be thinking that way, we're looking for some interns. So send them our way. But that's awesome. Cool.
So I have a question for you, just kind of zooming out. You mentioned your organization is agnostic and you work with a lot of different industries. How do you see, what's your perspective on which industries are going to be most affected, whether it's positive or negatively?
Yeah. I mean, you can read the news and hear about the white-collar industries. I mean, I think there is going to be an impact in any type of rote, repeat work. I mean, I think law, I think accounting, some elements of banking, obviously consulting. What's interesting is that maybe on purpose, maybe not, these companies built AI to build code. I mean, that's what Claude Code, that's what Open AI's Codex. There's a number of others out there. They've gotten really good at writing code, and now they're starting to write themselves. And so the whole career of a software developer is drastically changed within our organization. And we've taught them, you're going to have to be critical thinkers. You're going to have a high emotional IQ. You're going to have to be able to get in, understand, the business. It's just not enough. You're not going to get a technical spec and you go write and then hand me something back. It's like, you're going to have to dig in and understand and critically think and emotionally connect with the clients that you're serving. It's not enough to go, the days of the heads down coder, they're gone.
Yeah.
And that is going to happen across other industries. Now that AI has kind of really disrupted the software engineering world, it's going to start hitting other white collar areas. And what's interesting is, I know you guys have had a lot of blue collar guests. I can tell you, plumbers, mechanics, skilled trades, that's not going anywhere for a long time. They're in a real good spot. I mean, there are humanoid robots coming, but they're years away. I think it'll be mid 2030s, maybe a little sooner before we really start seeing those out there everywhere. But I think more of the trades are going to be here for a long, long time to come, where there is going to be disruption in the white collar industry.
Yeah. So if you have a kid in college now, or getting ready to start college, what do you tell them?
I'd make sure they learn some skills where they can present, where they can speak, where they can relate to others, where it's careers where you have to critically think. And I would tell them, if they're not getting the curriculum around AI, they better be studying and learning that stuff on their own and understanding how it can impact.
That's
if they
great.
haven't written their own project or two and solved their own problem or two using one of the coding engines, they need to do that.
So communication psychology would be a great place to start.
As much as things are going to computers, we're going to crave. I mean, humans are social creatures. We crave to be around other humans, or most of us do anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, no man's an island, or whatever you want to say. And so for like sales and marketing jobs and jobs that require the face-to-face interaction, that whole emotional IQ, being able to connect with people, communicate with people, help people think through the problems, that's not going anywhere. And I think there'll be more of that needed as AI takes on more of the rote repeat type of work that a lot of people are doing today.
We met with the dean at the TCU, at business school at TCU last week, and they had an interesting, he was saying what you're saying, which is we need our kids to be able to communicate, but we embrace the technology. We just want them to stand up in front of the room and demonstrate that they understand the process, and it does two things. It makes sure that they understand what they're talking about, but it also forces them to communicate it.
Yeah.
Learn how to do that.
And most kids these days, they're just heading their phone, texting, Instagram, Snapchat. Yeah, like they're going to have to get better at communicating with other human beings. In fact, I tell my kids all the time, put your phones down. Or with their friends, I'm like, phones down. You're going to have a conversation for an hour before you pick those back up.
I'm kind of glad I'm not 18 right now. I really am.
Well, thank God that stuff didn't get big until I was grown.
After Mitch's boys are running around, he said, "Pick your phones up. Pick your phones up and sit down for a minute."
Well, what's funny is I actually was on Fox News Arizona yesterday. I was talking about college exams. And there's a number of professors going to oral exams or people actually talking to an AI. But it's like, hey, if you turn something in, you better be able to defend it. I think that is going to be a common theme.
Yeah.
Making sure that even if you use something writing AI, and I actually had this conversation with my daughter last night. She was writing an English paper. I was like, hey, did you take it? Did you rewrite it? Did you put it in your own words? And she's like, absolutely. Like, can you defend it if you get asked questions about it? Like, you're going to have to be able to do that with works going forward.
Do you understand the words that are in your document?
Yeah. Or there's a bunch of big words, and she's dyslexic, so she knows don't put a lot of really big words in.
Yeah.
It took us a few minutes earlier to understand paradox when you threw that one out there.
So how can people find out more about your company?
Yeah, so you go to www.allata.com. We've got our webpage is a little outdated. We got a new one coming out, but you can hit me up at matt@allata.com. That's ALLATA.com. And then we've got a good LinkedIn presence as well that talks about a lot of what we're doing recently. And yeah, if you're an organization that's struggling with where to get started with AI and what to do with it, and even messing around and can't figure out where to start, I think we're pretty good at coming in and having a pretty realistic conversation of how to get going and determine whether we're a good fit or whether we're not, to help them along the path. But we've been having in fact, over the last 12 months, I've spent a lot of time in the field, spending time with clients, and I think there's just so much noise out there. And every consulting firm says they're an AI consultant now, and every software company says it's AI. And then you see everything in the news, and almost liken this to like the fog of war. Like you just don't like know what's going on. And so I think it's helpful to have experts like us, like yourselves, to turn to be like, hey, help me figure out what's real, what's not real, and where should I focus my time and energy to get the benefit of this technology.
And what you've built is kind of incorporates all of that.
Yeah,
Right.
It
to
does.
a tool that can last, at least 12 months.
At least 12 months, 18 months. I mean, no one knows what's going to happen. I mean, I think there's a point in the future where we just talk and things appear and code appears. And there's maybe not an interface, and that's what people don't realize. I mean, I wonder the future of web development. I mean, I think, for complex things, it'll be there, but I think voice may become the medium we communicate with. You just have a little pin and it gets you what you need and captures video. It's a little scary, but I don't know what it might be the phone. I don't know what the format's going to be.
Update my website to say that I work with plumbers before I walk into this meeting.
Exactly.
Wearables are a big idea.
Yeah,
right?
they're still trying to figure that out. I mean, Meta's got the deal with Ray-Ban, and I don't know whether it would be glasses, a phone, something new we haven't thought
Maybe
of.
the Neuralink.
Yeah, the Neuralink. You got, what's his name? Ivy. That was at Apple working at OpenAI now. So they're supposed to be coming out with a few things in the next 12 months. So it's going to be super fast. As a technologist, I'm super fascinated to see where things are going to go.
Sure.
It's really scary, but really fun all at the same time.
Yeah.
This reminds me, I got into this business back in the internet days when people were just starting to put their businesses online. But the problem was connectivity. And so it took arguably 15 to 20 years. This thing's happening faster than anything ever before because of the access to devices, the speed of connectivity, and the fact that everybody's enabled with the devices and the connectivity. So as the change comes, it's just coming. I mean, I think ChatGPT was 100 million users within 90 days. And it's insane. Nothing like that's ever happened since.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Very cool.
Well, this has been fantastic.
Yeah, been great, Matt. Thanks for joining us. And if this conversation has shifted any listeners how you're thinking about AI adoption, send it to other business owners and kind of get them exposed. That's who we're wanting to talk to. We can connect them with Matt if they want to get connected there. But drop us a note at weeksahead.ai or find us on socials. And like I said, we can get you connected with Matt if you want to talk to him as well, or you've gave your information. Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Yeah, good conversation. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks. Join us next time on Weeks Ahead AI.
Stay weeks ahead.